Okay. This is the midterm study guide. I have things highlighted that I was doing, but basically, I hope all of you got this. If you didn't download it, let me actually just take off all that stuff there so it doesn't look weird. But this is what it looks like. If you didn't, it's on Canvas under the module that says midterm. You can get this. Did I give it to you guys before we left? Did I hand this out to everybody? I don't remember if I did or not. I may or may not have.
You posted it online though.
I posted it online. Okay. All right. So you all get this, and you. Oh, that's right. I sent you guys a little message that said, "Here it is." So we're going to go over all these terms right now to make sure that everybody remembers them. And I started to put together a little PowerPoint and got from the other PowerPoints to kind of put it all together here for you. So we'll see how that goes. All right. So the first question, where did we get the identity of theater as we know it today? I would love for you to all answer. Although I can't see you if it says my screen sharing is paused. Can you see it?
I can see it.
You can see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hold on a second. Go back to Zoom over here. Hello? How do I go back to the meeting? Okay, I don't know how to get back to the meeting. Well, all right, we'll just go on then. I'm sharing my screen. Yes?
I think you are.
I think I am.
Go through options, I believe. It's up top.
Ah. Okay, somebody has their phone on.
Not my phone.
I'm trying to see the chat because I can't see the chat when I have this up. So if you're asking me any questions through chat, I cannot hear you. I'm going to turn up my volume so I can hear you if you do say anything. Okay, we'll just go here. So where do we get the identity of theater as we know it today? Somebody answer audibly.
We got it from Greece.
That's right. Ancient Greece. Do we know how long ago? Anybody? If you're typing, I can't hear you. About 2,500 years ago, 5th century BC. Okay. In 5th century BC. Ancient Greece. Is that somebody talking, or is that just? That
was my grandma.
Oh, there's your grandma. Hi, grandma. Okay. All right.
My teacher says hi.
The audience. The audience is the part of the play that makes it complete, right? Because if an actor is acting to nobody, then it doesn't happen. Okay, it's what makes a play complete, a performance complete. It has to have an audience, right? So who can tell me what is aesthetic distance?
Willing suspension of disbelief.
Okay, a willing suspension of disbelief. And what exactly does that mean?
So we know that the events of a play aren't real, but we're not looking at that at the moment though. We choose to disregard it.
Right, so we know when we're looking at a play that it's not real, and if somebody dies on stage that they're not really dead, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we know the events of the play aren't real, and we agree for the moment not to disbelieve them, so we don't call 911 if we see somebody die on stage. Okay. Okay, this was kind of a difficult thing when we had this on the test before, the difference between popular culture and elitist culture. These are the things that you need to write down and remember. Popular culture, it's everybody. It's enjoyed by the masses, which just means like the reason it's popular is because most people like it, or a large portion of people enjoy it. And elitists believe that only a few people, that they have super sensitivity and that only they can appreciate art. Oh, the rest of you people, you don't know what you're looking at. If you ever heard anybody talking about a painting and they're saying, oh, well, I appreciate the content and the way that the form of the, well, I think what the person was trying to say was, okay, those are the elitists. Popular culture, it appeals to a broad general public, and elitist culture means only a smaller group of people, and they have very demanding standards that the general public doesn't know about, okay? And popular culture would be pop music. The reason it's called pop music is because it's popular. Most people like it. When I was growing up, I told people I lived in radio hell. Okay. I didn't really like the music that was on the radio station. It was okay, but it wasn't anything that I really got into. And I didn't like the rock. I didn't like the country. I didn't like the pop. And when I moved to California, they called it then alternative rock. And I really, really liked that. I thought, oh, I finally found my music. Well, then it wasn't too long before alternative rock just became pop because it became more popular than the other music. So it turned into pop. So pop can really means the most popular thing that's going on out there. Where elitist culture would be like concert hall, symphony music and stuff like that. Popular culture likes TV sitcoms. And advertising art means like you see something on TV and you go, oh, wow, that's pretty. Where, the elitist people like the stuff shown in the galleries. And popular culture likes musical comedies, and elitist culture, they want to see those really avant-garde, not-for-profit, small theater productions or things that are off Broadway. And when we're talking about on Broadway and off Broadway, on Broadway actually means on the street Broadway, and off Broadway could be a block over. But usually the theaters are smaller, and a lot of the things that they do are new, things like that. Okay, any questions?
No.
Okay. Eric Bentley's description of theater. Does anyone remember what that is?
A performs before C.
Yes, very good. Yay. Okay, so it's just, okay, and A is?
The
The
performer?
actor?
Yeah, a performer. B is?
The performance?
Script.
Performance, a script, whatever, a scene. And C is?
The audience?
The audience, yes, thank you. Okay, Aristotle's 6 parts of the drama. If you do not know them, write them down. Okay, plot, character, thought, diction, music, and spectacle. Again, Aristotle wrote the Poetics, and he included his description in the Poetics of all these things that he thought were most important for a drama. Now, really, he was only talking about tragedies, and he probably did decipher comedies somewhere else, but we don't have that. So what is meant by plot? Anyone? What's a plot? It's not dots on a graph. It's kind of plot.
It's like, I don't know, going from scene to scene.
It's a story, right? Okay, it's what happens. Okay, the plot is what the whole story is about. And so, have you ever heard anybody say, "Oh, I really liked the movie, but there wasn't much of a plot"? Okay, and stuff like that means that they didn't really have a story that went with it. Character, or the people in that story, the character. Thought is the thoughts of the playwright come through in what the characters do. So if a character is very, perhaps, I don't know, against the government or something like that, kind of the characters in there will be that way too, so that they have that kind of thought come through. Diction is any words that are said. So the characters' words, everything that's spoken. Music can be the music behind the scenes, or they could be singing, it could be a musical or something like that. And spectacle is anything, any props, anything behind them. Okay. 2 most common plot structures.
Tragedy and comedy.
No, that's close. Those are the 2.
Episodic and climactic.
Yes. I would say because tragedy and comedy, and that's where we get confused. So the plot structures are the climactic, also called linear form. And it's when we start at A and we end at Z, okay? Things go, you know, A to B to C to D to E. And we can follow things. It goes in a forward. You start somewhere and you keep going forward. Episodic, it jumps from one thing to the next, sometimes doing flashbacks, sometimes doing forward, and it's separated by time and place. It doesn't build cause and effect, like I do one thing and so this happens, and then I do another thing and then that happens. That's cause and effect. And that's what happens in the climactic. But in episodic, it might be flashbacks and stuff like that. And those are the plot structures. The dramatic forms, oh, isn't that nice? Are comedy and tragedy. I cut and pasted some of these from some of our other things. So, but that's really an important distinction, because there's 2 things and it's kind of in the same area. But think of forms as the whole structure of the play, what form it is. I'm going to mold this form out of clay and it's going to be a tragedy. I'm going to mold this form and it's going to be a comedy. So whether it has a happy face or a sad face on it, we'll see. Okay.
Yeah, now I can see it. The PowerPoint.
Okay. So it says point of attack.
Mm-hmm.
No, the
Okay.
plot.
It says
Okay.
plot, and then underneath it says point of attack.
Yes.
You see, okay. The point at which the story is taken up. So, you know, we say, can stories, you know, begin before the point of attack? And I think I talked about Harry Potter. So the point of attack is where you decide to start the story. So, oh, look, it's coming up by itself. Harry Potter stories took place, you know, his mom, they could have started with his mom and dad. Okay, they could have started when his mom and dad met. They could have started, you know, even before, you know, mom and dad were going to Hogwarts, before they ever met, before they ever had Harry, before they were attacked by Voldemort, before all those things happened. But they chose a different point. They chose when Harry was 10 years old and getting ready to be, you know, invited to the wizarding world. And that was the point of attack of the story. That's where the story starts. Where you are introduced to the story, where you come in. The inciting incident is something that happens that sets the main action in motion. And if it didn't happen, you wouldn't have a story. So we use the example on Harry Potter's 10th birthday. He got the letter to go to Hogwarts, and what's his name? The giant came to get him. You know, if that hadn't happened, if he hadn't gotten the letters, if nobody had came to get him, we wouldn't have a story. So that's why that incident is so important. That's why it's called the inciting incident. Okay. Let's go next.
There are different types of theater
Oh, really?
configurations, how things are put
Stop
together.
that.
but there are four main
I can't
types
stop
of
it.
stages.
Please,
A
sorry.
proscenium,
Shush. Oh. Okay. I think I stopped. I picked that from the one that was the video, I guess. All right. So the four main types of stages. There are the proscenium, which is this one here. That, remember, it's like a picture frame. The thrust stage, where you just basically take that same thing and you thrust it out into the audience so that there's audience on three sides. There's the arena stage, where you have, it's like you're in an arena, like you're going to go see the Spurs or something, and there's audience on all four sides. And then there's a flexible stage, or a black box. A black box is a flexible stage, but not all flexible stages are black boxes. So I think we got confused on that before. A flexible stage could be anywhere, because remember, you could be doing a show on a bus or in a parking lot, or, you know, outside somewhere. You know, I could use my dining room here to be a stage. So a flexible stage could be just about anything. And a black box is one of the spaces that we can use as a flexible stage, because you can move the chairs around, you can move the where you're going to put the sets around, you can make it so that it's all the different configurations. Okay. City Dionysia, this was something that was missed on several of the tests. That is the name of the festival that was in honor of Dionysus. And Dionysus is the Greek god of
Fertility, wine,
Wine and theater.
fertility, wine, and theater. That's right. Okay. I'm not sure in that order or not, but anyhow, but that was the major festival that they celebrated him at. It was called City Dionysia. Okay. Okay, Thespis. Thespis, oops, where did it go? I can't see what it says because your pictures are over them. That's okay. I know who he is. Thespis was the first actor. He was part of a chorus, and he was the one that decided to step out and say lines all on his own without the rest of the chorus with him. He must have had a very loud voice, okay? Because think about those kind of stages. They had to have really loud voices to reach everybody. So Thespis is who we consider the first actor. Many high schools have a thespian society. There's actually an international thespian society. So it's like a super duper drama club that you can belong to. Okay. The Deus ex machina. All right, this is in ancient Greek theater, they used to have a machine, and they would lower down the actors who played the gods, who would come and save the day, especially if they'd written themselves into a corner and they couldn't figure out how to end the show. So that it literally means God from the machine, Deus ex machina. And today we use that same term for any kind of a contrived ending. Oh, and she woke up and it was all a dream. It's like, really? Because you couldn't figure out how to get Dorothy out of Oz. So whatever. The theatron. It means seeing place. And this is the slope, with or without seating. This particular one was the very first one. And it didn't have these seats here, but it does now. So this is the first one, but theatron basically means seeing place. It's where the audience sits, okay? And they did sit, they sit there now. You can go see a show. That's one of the things I would really like. That's my bucket list. I want to go see a show in Athens at the City Dionysia in the very first theater. I'm sure my husband would be just like thrilled. You mean we went all the way to Greece for this? But, anyway. Good. Oh, it's showing it here. Here's my little arrows. Okay, masks. Okay, masks have several uses. All performers, except the musician, who says work masks, they wore masks. They worked them too, I'm sure. They were made of lightweight wood, cork, or linen. They facilitated rapid change of the roles when 3 actors had to play all the parts. It made it easier for men to play women, and it helped the actors assume roles that varied in age. And it assisted communications with the audience by emphasizing the most important qualities of each character. So if this particular character, you know, one of his most important qualities was that he had a big nose, they could put a big nose on the mask, and then anybody could play that character. Okay. Checking on our time. And the chorus consisted of 15 in tragedy and 24 in comedy. They were assigned there 11 months before performance. So they had a long time to work on this show. But if you think about it, they were actually working on 4 shows because each of the playwrights got to do 3 tragedies and 1 comedy. So I think I'd need 11 months to learn all those scripts. But they trained in singing and dancing just like musical theater people do now. And there was a chorus leader, and sometimes there was a semi-chorus of 7 members. Okay, the functions of the Greek chorus in drama. Maybe. They formed a collective character. Okay, they could be one, oh, look, it's doing it by itself. There'd be one person that, you know, gave advice to Oedipus or whatever. The chorus was like one big character, and it always seemed to express the author's position on things. Let's see. They served as the ideal spectator because anything that the playwright wanted the audience to do, for instance, he wanted the audience to be scared, he would make the chorus scared so the audience would know what to do. It's like, oh gosh, we should be scared about that. It helped establish the mood and the effects, and let's see what else. And it added color, movement, and spectacle because they danced in the interludes. Okay, supernumeraries. These are the extras. These are the people in the background. They didn't have any lines. They still don't have any lines. If you ever get cast as an extra, they're not going to give you any lines. Because then as soon as you get a line, you're no longer an extra. So if you got a line, you were part of the chorus and not a supernumerary. The scanifrons. I was looking at the older, at the other PowerPoints, and I didn't see that I actually had one of this. I wanted to make sure that you all know. It's the facade that's across the back of the Roman theater. It has 3 doors. So this one seems to have more than that, but there's one here. There's one on each side over here for the actors to enter and exit so that, and they could go in there so that they could do their changes and stuff like that. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. So we were all the way down here at Scanifrons. Okay, the quem quatoris trope. Now, since we just took this test, all of these things should be up in your mind. I'm going to let one of you answer. What was this? I have to drink water.
The earliest example of a liturgical play.
Correct. It was the first liturgical drama. Somebody put vernacular, and I'm like, no, no, no. The vernacular was when the lay people started doing them that were not part of the church. This was this is what brought theater back. Okay, this and Prosrovia. I can't remember how to say her name, Prosrovia. But the quem quatoris trope was only like, it was 5 lines. And it was like, whom do you seek? You know, it was like, we seek Jesus. He's not here. He has risen. Go and tell the world. Something along those lines. But it was and it was either choir members or the clergy, people involved in the church actually did this, and they were the first ones to do it. Okay, and that is the Quem Quatuoris trope. It's done at Easter after Jesus has risen. Okay. Shakespeare, who's that guy?
William.
William. Oh, Bill. He's my friend. So what you need to know about him, let's see. He wrote a lot of plays. He's pretty famous. He had a couple of companies. Anyone remember the name of his companies? Or at least
Knightsmen, King's Knightsmen,
the King's Men.
Kingsmen.
The
King's Men.
Lord Chamberlain's men.
And Lord Chamberlain's Men. Right, those were his two. The Lord Chamberlain's Men and the King's Men. Okay, and those were basically his acting groups. Now, what theater did he perform his shows in?
Oh man.
Here's a hint.
The Globe.
Globe.
The Globe Theater, that's right. Okay, and if you went to the Globe Theater, remember we saw that little video, you went to the Globe Theater and they had like the heavens, and then they had like underneath the stage was hell, and they had the box seats for the people to sit in, and then there was the gallery. And what was the area right in front of the stage where everybody had to stand?
The area was for the groundlings.
The groundlings. There you go, groundlings. That's who stood there, the groundlings. And what could the groundlings do that other people couldn't do?
Throw rotten fruit and
Throw rotten fruit. Exactly. They could pretty much reach out and grab the ankle of the actor, right? They were right there. It was pretty cool. Okay. Perspective scenery. What is perspective scenery? What does it look like?
It's theater as we know it today. So it's like background scenery and it changes for location and stuff.
Well, almost, although we can go see a lot of theaters where they have something just flat behind them. Perspective scenery was something very different. They had a lot of flats, and they would make it so that the flats were, there were some here, and then there was some further back here, and then there was some further back here, and then back here would be the last backdrop. So it looked like it was a long street. Okay, so and if you just had it out in the open, you could tell that it wasn't. So they wanted people to understand that, and that's why they had the picture frame or proscenium theater, so that it forced you to see things in that perspective. It was several different layers, okay? And the Italians came up with it, but who really loved it? Who were the people that really loved it? Took it away.
The French?
The French, that's right. So, I'm sorry, my dog's crazy. Shush, 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 shush. He barks when I come home, okay? I'm so sorry. I'm getting a bark collar for him today, so this won't happen again. Come here, come here, come here. You wanna see my doggy?
Yeah.
Sure.
Come here, come here. I can't, come here. Max. This is Max.
Oh,
Okay,
he's
good
cute.
bark. He's cute, but he barks too much. Stop barking. Look, see the peep? Okay, yeah. All right, you tell him. All right, who's gonna tell you? We used to have golden retrievers. This is just not my style. Okay, so behave. Shush. Okay, so hopefully he won't be barking anymore. Cardinal Richelieu was the one that really liked perspective scenery. I'm gonna have to grab the dog again. I think maybe we're getting a delivery or something. Mailman must be coming by. Does anyone know who Cardinal Richelieu was?
He reformed French theater.
Right. So he was from France, and my son's upstairs hollering down, "Hey, isn't he the guy from Hunchback?" No, that's not him. He reformed the French theater, and he loved the Italian perspective scenery. So he brought it to France, and remember, he gave his own like ballroom over and like turned it into the what ended up being the Palace Royal, because the king owned it after he died. And that's where Tartuffe was, but that's where Molière did all of his plays. But he wanted to reform theater because he thought it was awfully sloppy. And so he came up with the neoclassical ideal. Okay, and the neoclassical ideal said that basically everybody was doing a lot of things wrong. There were specific rules that you had to follow. Okay, I was going to pop those up and I can't right now. But the one thing that I will in just a second, but one thing I want you to remember is some people got this wrong on the test. He did define that there needed to be 3 unities. Okay, and the 3 unities that are under the neoclassical ideal are the unities of time, the unities of place, and the unities of action. So time, everything needs to take place within 24 hours. Okay, if it doesn't take place within 24 hours, we can't believe it. It couldn't be possible. Okay, place, it couldn't be in more than one place. If it was in more than one place, it had to be a place that we could believe that you could travel to and still keep it within 24 hours. And then what was the last one I said? Action?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the action had to take place that was believable within the 24-hour time period. In other words, you couldn't full out wage a war within 24 hours. So those are the 3 unities of the neoclassical ideal. It also said things such as tragedies were only for, you could only write tragedies when you were talking about noblemen or kings. And comedies, you could only use as your subjects common people. I remember the other things that it said.
It said middle and lower classes.
Yeah, middle, lower classes, yeah. The common people, yeah. I'm looking at your homework here to see if I have it. See if whoever had it. And that is my crazy dog again. Okay. Wrong. It's all right. Max, stop. I'm sorry. The last thing we have on here is Commedia dell'arte. Anybody can remember what that is? Where it's from?
From Italy. It's a comedy of professional actors.
That's right. So it was all comedy, and they had stock characters. Okay, and some of you got some of these mixed up with at the very end of last chapter. We talked about the restoration characters and what those were, and that was one of the extra credit questions. Were who were the restoration? Give me 3 examples of the restoration stock characters. And I think 1 or 2 people did it, but most of them thought I was talking about Commedia. So, but the Commedia dell'arte they had different types of characters. So we had the lovers, we had the zanies, which were the crazy sidekicks. We had the masters. Well, the servants were the zanies. Okay, the masters and the servants and the lovers. Those are the 3 major people with that area. Okay. I feel crazy. I'm trying to hold the dog so it doesn't bark. All right. Are there any questions on any of that?
No, ma'am.
Okay.